this is a reading for you. It is not attached to a zodiac sign nor timeline. The intention is, if you come across this reading, it should benefit you in some way. That being said, let's get started. So, we start with the King of Pentacles. This is finding sturdy ground, feeling stable. Maybe you anticipate a lot to sort of come in, or you've started to see some development, because crossing you, there does seem to be some communication and also maybe even monetary gain, or it's almost like a communication to receive something, unless it's you who is the one giving. I don't necessarily take it that way, though. I think that it's something that you are acquiring, because behind you there's maybe some sudden like good news or changes of things developing that is bringing about a lot of confidence. You feel assured in it, you know. I do want to say that there is sort of a note of taking your time here, and I almost want to warn against not moving too slow, but on the same time, I think it's sort of okay, because I feel like you're trying to move out of this energy of just burning yourself out all the time, of running yourself into the ground, trying to force things to work. And, you know, this is more about taking inspired action rather than action that feels forced. Even if you're in stressful circumstances, I'm just kind of feeling like you are sort of claiming mastery of your own reality and how you do things. And that could be sort of an awkward adjustment to make, particularly when you don't know how everything is going to go. Even on your mind, I feel like there's sort of a pause before action. I also kind of get the idea that you're maybe waiting for certain things to come through. And, you know, I kind of get the impression of you being observed in some way. There is a communication that comes through that brings celebration. So I honestly think that things will go as planned. There could be a bit of a stall, though, because I feel like and even in the outcome, it really sort of implies that you're trying to sort of block this negative perspective. You're trying to overcome your internal suffering. You're trying to overcome frustration or like combat negative thinking even. And, you know, that does bring you to a place of clarity. I think that you're gaining a very straightforward method of looking at things and, you know, putting in the effort, but with a sense of authority, a sense of empowerment, rather than sort of feeling like you have to constantly chase things. Because I feel like it's become clear to you probably that just doesn't work very well for you. And that's not really how you want this to be anyway. So, you know, again, it's more so inspired action rather than required action, which creatively speaking is a very good way to operate, because when you're trying to sort of force yourself along, you're just going to crash. You know, it's not, you can't force quality. You can't really force inspiration. Now, if you work a job that's sort of just like monotonous, right? It doesn't require any level of like creativity or thought, or, you know, but even that, if we're talking about in terms of life and relationships and just how you live life, you know, one would hope that you feel inspired to live rather than sort of pushed into a position. And, you know, this to me is sort of suggesting that you're trying to find those balances. You're trying to, you know, find that internal stability. And, you know, I don't know what's going on in the outside influence, because I feel like there's a couple of different energies here. So it's like things seem to be good overall. And I feel like this is someone's maybe like moods or perspectives, like they can be on one end of the spectrum or the other. Or this is sort of like a very kind of happy or fulfilling situation. And then you got this like sort of snarling dog off in the corner who's like bitter or something. Which, if that's the case, like, who gives a shit anyway? Because it seems like your circumstances are good. And I feel like you know, this to me implies that you don't want to ignore your better judgment anymore. Like, I really get the impression that you're just sort of like tired of repeating cycles, or like feeling like you're sort of chasing yourself around. Like, I really think that, you know, and even in the last few readings, a lot of it has been about trying to find those answers to bring change, or find answers to see like why you feel sort of held back or unmotivated in some ways. And, you know, stepping into this new way of being. And a lot of this, you know, it talks about, you know, blocking off that negative perspective, defending yourself from like time wasting circumstances and people, and, you know, trying to stay focused on your goals or your overall vision of where you're going. Not really entertaining things that ultimately just sort of set you back. And also maybe even trying to understand what those things are, because in some ways you might not know. But in the outcome, you know, we have the Queen of Wands and the Two of Pentacles. So I feel like you do become very busy, but it would be about, you know, things you're passionate about. Like, there's a lot to manage, and it's sort of a performance or a balancing act, because it's like you can see he's juggling. If he drops one of those, that's it. But it's that dance of energetic exchange. It's that like getting into that flow. You know what I mean? If this is resonating, feel free to like and subscribe. Doesn't cost anything to subscribe. And if you do want to further support the channel, definitely feel free to check out my Patreon, which is in the description below. That's a great way to support the channel. If you want to book a personal reading, you can do that on my website. I have artwork for sale as well. So if you want to support the channel, that's a great way to do it. I will say this is my full-time profession as an artist, as a creative, as a reader, and so on. And even if not, I just appreciate you all being here and watching. It means, even just that means a lot. And especially if you like and subscribe and all that stuff, like, thank you. Let's pull a spread for advice. Okay. So it's interesting. Your advice, so we start off representing you, the Ten of Pentacles and the Eight of Wands. So this is maybe a lot of positive information coming in, a lot of positive growth. And, you know, I almost kind of get the impression with this that it's almost like you're still sort of, you know, off balance with it though, because it's not all here yet. It's not quite where you want to be yet. So it's like you're almost still having to like just hold on. And I feel like you feel very restricted in that. And I feel like it's hard to sort of break patterns of thinking because of that. And I feel like you're tired of having to like sort of guard whatever just to sort of meet your basic needs is what it's feeling like. Now, you know, there's plenty of opportunity here. The Ace of Pentacles is something with potential that can be nurtured into existence. And, you know, it's advising to, you know, protect your wish fulfillment, protect your justice, and protect your knowing, and do whatever is needed to sort of stand up for yourself and get yourself to the other side. Because it's sort of saying that I feel like a lot of this comes from over analyzing and sort of stepping out of the present moment. You know, sort of just watching for results like a hawk. And I guarantee if you step back from that and you pay less attention, you just focus on like the quality of life or the quality of work or the quality of the relationship or whatever the things are you're trying to develop. If you don't pay attention to results so much and you just flow with the present moment of enjoying it and doing it and being and just sort of knowing that it will come, because even an expectation of it to come sort of programs in your mind that it's not here yet. You want to act as if, you want to sort of step in the energy, you want to just be it, even though maybe it's not all here. You know, a little delusion never hurt anyone. In fact, it's honestly more helpful than hurtful in a lot, unless it's, you know, obviously on an extreme, it can be a problem. But because even in your perspective, it's like you're just staring at your pain. You're, you know, it's ultimately just slowing you down to be very like focused on it. And that's what I'm saying. And I feel like it's suggesting to maybe even analyze where that's coming from. Like the root of your suffering, the origin of your suffering, because in the outcome, it suggests that it can be healed, right? Because we have, you know, you can make judgment calls to heal it. If you can understand it, you can break it. You can move away from it. Because the thing is it's like you're surrounded by celebration. You're surrounded by harvest and good things. Maybe not to the extreme or to like the extent that you want yet, but you're getting there, and I think that it's pretty obvious that you're getting there. So, you know, stay balanced in your focus, stay present and refined, and you know, just I almost want to say just enjoy yourself more, even if you feel like you can't sometimes, like because I know that, you know, we hear people talk about, you know, positive thinking and like making changes in how we do things, and sometimes it's, especially if you're depressed, you know, it can be hard. Like personally, like me speaking, you know, sometimes like I don't even want to get out of bed. It can literally be hard for me to like make myself like get up and just like do everything I have to do sometimes. But you know, some days I'm ready to jump up and I'm excited, but in those times where it's hard to get up, you know, I just have to remind myself like what I'm doing it all for, and also that our lives are much bigger than just us. So, you know, and especially like, because here it sort of suggests like a fear of some like fear like around your stability maybe. But I really do think it's all coming. It's just there's this barrier of fear. And I don't want to suggest that that's the only problem, because, you know, when your rent's due or whatever, or your marriage is falling apart, or your whatever it is, you know, that's a very real problem that needs to be solved. And like sometimes it's scary when you feel like you can't solve it. But you know, we all have our burdens to bear. We all have our challenges to overcome. And when we allow ourselves to suffer or dwell in it, we're not only doing ourselves a disservice, but we're doing a disservice to everyone around us and to the world around us. And the fact is sometimes it's going to be hard, but, you know, the key is to never throw in the towel. That's how we make changes. And, you know, as much as we can lean into the experience of love or lean into the experience of success or whatever it is, and it can be small things. Like if you feel, you know, like you're in poverty, like just start saving money here and there. Maybe it's $5, but it's something. And then it's like it programs that you did something, you know, or in your relationships, make the effort however, and just, even if it's small, it's like it all adds to something. And before you know it, that can actually, you know, really make larger effects in your life. So, you know, and I don't want to make it sound like you're like purely struggling, because I don't think that you are. I just feel like you're navigating your way out of some difficulties or out of some difficult perspectives. And, you know, be patient with yourself and enjoy like the wins that you obtain as you go, because that can really make make all the difference in the world. That and just, you know, paying attention to what you have and being grateful for what you have. I mean, that's one of the most useful things we can do, to be honest. So I thank you all for being here. I thank you for joining. I'm going to take this to the extended version of the reading on my Patreon. So again, if you want to check that out, that is the first link in the description below. I also am, for the third tier on my Patreon, I'm releasing monthly prints now of drawings that I do. I also have live streams and some educational content and various other things. So all my exclusive content, all my extended readings, all that stuff is on my Patreon. So definitely check that out. Or if you want to book a personal reading, hit up my website, like, subscribe, all that stuff, and I'll see you next time.